And God said, "Let there be
The
light."
Lord says, "Let my people go."
I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
This is the Talkin' Bible podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the final episode of this week's Talkin' Bible podcast. Hello, Jeannie.
Hello, Pastor Rohan.
We're on the clock because you've got lunch waiting for you with your husband.
Oh, yeah.
And we have
a real
wasted
date.
a lot of time. It's a real date. We've wasted a lot of time on this outside of recording.
No, we haven't
Actually,
wasted time.
We haven't wasted time. It's been fruitful time.
Yes.
That last conversation was an interesting one.
If you listen to the last one, you will know why Pastor Rohan is now going to do all the readings.
Oh, right. Now the pressure's on me to try to be warm and fuzzy.
Good luck.
You were ruthless.
Because you're about to read Revelation 2, 8 to 11.
Revelation 2, 8 to 11.
And I am judging you on every word you say.
Write this letter to the angel of the church in Smyrna. This is the message from the one who is the first and the last, who was dead but now is alive. I know your suffering and your poverty, but you are rich. I know the blasphemy of those opposing you. They say they are Jews, but they are not, because their synagogue belongs to Satan. Don't be afraid of what you're about to suffer. The devil will throw some of you into prison to test you, and you'll suffer for 10 days. But if you remain faithful, even when facing death, I will give you the crown of life. Anyone who has ears to hear must listen to the Spirit and understand what he is saying to the churches. Whoever is victorious will not be harmed by the second death.
Not bad.
You know why that one was easy?
Why?
Because this is the only one of the 7 where Jesus doesn't do a rebuke.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. But it's not how I would have read it.
Not how you. You would have read it much better than
certainly picked up on the synagogue of Satan.
Oh, you would have gone deeper on that. This is why you're the script writer, Jeannie. You're much better at gauging
Be
people.
afraid of what you were about to suffer?
He says, don't be afraid, not be afraid.
Oh,
See, you're already going down that path. Be afraid of what you... No, he's saying don't be afraid of what you're about to suffer.
Look, you know I do read things negatively. Look, yes, the devil is about to throw some of you. This is serious stuff.
This is serious stuff, yes.
You will experience affliction for 10 days. What does that 10 days mean?
It could be literal, but I think, off the top of my head, I think there's a link back. Potentially, scholars think it might be a link back to the period of 10 days of testing, like symbolic of what Daniel had when he had his 10 days of fasting. Did you find that in your notes?
Yes, I did find
you
that.
Did? Okay, so that's in the back of my
That was a tick.
That was a tick somewhere in the back of my mind, because I've been studying the 7 churches in preparation for my trip there in a few weeks' time. So I've been studying them. So that was in the back of my mind somewhere. But I was right.
Good.
Okay.
That's a good answer. Now, I just asked you before we began, and I know you don't know what Smyrna means. I don't know what
Smyrna means. No, what does the town of Smyrna mean?
Allegedly, it means myrrh.
Oh, it comes from the same word as myrrh. Okay.
Yes.
So that's suffering. Myrrh is a herb that symbolizes suffering. Is that?
It is one of the components of the holy anointing oil for priests.
Yes.
In Exodus, Esther bathed in myrrh.
Yep.
Psalm 45 speaks of myrrh among the spices of the anointed bridegroom king.
Okay.
Myrrh is one of the perfumes that creates an aromatic cloud around the lover in Song of Songs.
Yep.
Yeah, and grows in the garden that is the bride. Song of Songs again, and then obviously isn't he given myrrh as a present?
Yes,
Jesus,
yes.
when he
Gold,
was
silver,
born?
and myrrh. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot in it.
Yeah.
And it was used in Jesus' burial.
Yeah, that's why I thought
Which
it had
makes it
something to do
more
with
like a nuptial.
I thought it had something to do with nuptial. Okay, I just thought it was a picture of something to do with mourning or death or something like that. But then you've used it in a whole lot of wedding nuptial celebrations and things there. So
and as you mentioned, there was no rebuke.
There was no rebuke. No.
So Smyrna is a good church.
It's the only church of the 7 churches that doesn't have a rebuke.
It's not getting anything wrong.
Well, there's nothing that's pointed out to us that they're getting wrong, whether they're getting everything right or not, but nothing that Jesus obviously felt important enough to talk about, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But they're under attack.
Yes, they're in it. So Smyrna is a town which is basically next to part of modern day Izmir, just down the road from Ephesus on the coast, and it was a seat of Roman power. It was a fiercely loyal town to Rome, which is probably why there's a reference there to where the synagogue of Satan. There's something going on in that city or among those Jews in that synagogue somehow.
Well, it sounds to me that the Jews were actually actively coming against them.
Yes.
And that's why they're called the synagogue of Satan.
Yeah, I think so.
Hyperbole?
Yeah,
right?
I think it's hyperbole, yeah. And we know that was happening in this region.
It's not literal.
Around that time. Not literal. No, not literal. It was literally that there was some kind of fierce persecution they were suffering from Jews. Yeah. And probably from the Romans as well, but certainly from the Jews.
Yes. Yeah, I had a note here. I usually write things in bold that I want to read, but I have selected 2 entire paragraphs in bold. So you just talk amongst yourselves while I figure this out.
Okay, work it amongst yourselves, folks.
And what do you think this actually means, this whole section? While you answer that question, I'll look for this note.
What does this mean?
Yeah,
the
what does
whole
it mean?
Section?
The whole thing. What is it about?
Well, he's predicting that these guys are facing significant persecution. These guys are facing a time of hardship, but they are persevering through it. So it says, I know your suffering and I know your poverty. Well, those two would have gone hand in hand. They don't often in our culture necessarily go hand in hand, as in your faithfulness will bring poverty. But in a culture where their economic livelihood revolved on doing business with people, and if they were being persecuted as Christians by Jews and by Romans, it would have been very hard for them to economically survive. So they would have been in hardship, poverty, not being able to feed, not being able to have enough money. And he's saying to them, I know it's tough right now, but stick at it because I'm rich and I am the one who has conquered it all. So stay faithful. And it's going to get, he actually says to them, look, some of it's going to get worse for a while. But if you stay the course, if you stay faithful, if you remain faithful, even if you come to the point of death, I'm going to bestow upon you a crown of life. So it's an encouragement to keep their eyes on the eschaton, keep their eyes on the win at the end, the final prize, and recognize that what you're going through is temporary.
Was the church growing at this time?
In this particular area, it would have, yes, it had been growing, but the scholars seem to think that there was the time this was written, this is my best understanding on, depending exactly when you think the book of Revelation was likely written in the 80s or 90s AD. Now, during that time, there had been a significant rise of Jewish persecution as the Jews were trying to work out their faith. This is following the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, which happened in 70 AD. The Jews had to rework their whole religious faith that moved from temple-centric to synagogue-centric. They had to work out their faith again. And that, as a result of that, the Christians, who had been kind of labelled as part of the Jewish community, were being ostracized because the Christians were giving the Jews a bad name among the Roman authorities.
Under Roman authority, could you create a new religion?
Not without Roman allowance, no.
So previous to this, Judaism and Christianity was seen as one sort of
it was convenient,
religion.
Yes. In some parts, yes, and in other parts, no.
So now it's separating.
Yeah, the Jews are actually forcing the Christians, making sure the Christians, they're persecuting them, separate them out because they were concerned the Christians were giving them a bad name with the Romans. And they've just been, a decade ago, they've just been through, having their temple ransacked because of rebellion. The last thing these Jews want to do is be seen to be in rebellion against Rome again. Yes,
so this is my note, that they would be actively making people know that they are not the same religion.
Correct. And persecuting the Christians in the process.
Yeah.
Yes.
To separate from them for their own interests.
Yes. Yeah, because they need to remark their own identity and they don't want to make life hard for themselves. They've suffered incredible pain at losing their temple and the city, all their hopes and dreams. So they're having to rework their entire faith. And they don't want the Christians making that worse, which led to the Christians suffering this poverty and this persecution. And so much of what is happening here and in Ephesus is linked to that especially. And that's what Jesus is. That's the context, I suppose, of what's going on, the historical context of what's going on. And Jesus is kind of saying, look, it's going to probably get worse before it gets better, but hey, in the end I win, so stay the course. And now you can back up a level and you can look at the entire book of Revelation through this lens of a group of Christians who are suffering persecution and hardship, especially in these two churches, Ephesus and Smyrna, which are right near each other. And you can go, that's why the book's written. It's an encouragement that you've got all these forces coming against you, dark spiritual forces, Rome and Judaism and all this. Stay the course because in the end.
Do you think this is a real encouragement though, the way that it's written? You're going to be persecuted and it's going to get worse.
Well, it's honest.
Keep going.
It's but I that's life. I don't think don't worry about nothing. The problem is we Christians, we've often been guilty of telling people, come to Jesus, everything's going to be okay. Come to Jesus, it'll be fine.
Yes, I'm so glad you say that.
You live your best life when you become to Jesus. And here's Jesus say, actually, it's going to get...
There was no sugarcoating on this.
There was no sugarcoating. Except that it was... If he just said, hey, guess what? It's going to get worse. So tough it out.
Yeah.
That would have been that wouldn't have been helpful. But the sugarcoating is, I guess, in the sense that he tells them to keep their eye on the prize at the end, the hope of the eschaton, the hope that one day God will right every wrong, and that's what kept them going. So Jesus is saying, yes, it's going to get worse. You're going to suffer for a time, even face death, but I've got the crown of life, and I'm ready to give it to you. I will give it to you when the time is right. So it's that hope beyond the temporal that he's talking to, and that's what the whole book of Revelation is about.
Do you think it's telling them not to fear this persecution?
Yeah. It's a hope that, hey, it might look dark now, and even to the point of death, but you do not need to fear, because if you will hold fast, the prize at the end will be so worth it.
Is it more than just the prize, though, at the end? Is it that Jesus is saying, you are in my hands?
Yeah,
I've got you. Yeah. Hey, we said that together. That's really funny.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that he is in this moment, even though this persecution is going on. I am going to hold on to you.
Yep.
I am here this whole time.
Yep.
Because he's very stoic, I think, in the way that this is written.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I have already won.
Yes, it's a done deal, guys. You're living in this now and not yet part where the kingdom hasn't fully come yet, but it's inside you. Stick at it.
And that makes me think of the testing that we go through. We talked about it sometime earlier in this week, the tests that we go through. Do you think it's possible that Jesus employs, I suppose, I'll say employs the devil's efforts for the purpose of strengthening his people through these tests?
Yes, I do think it's possible. Yeah, I had to think about it for a minute, because sometimes people think, well, that God. There's a fine line between God allowing something and God orchestrating something. But yes, I think that's the redemptive nature of God, that He will allow the devil's work to produce His work in us.
Yes, because He has won, and His intention is to win and to make use of what the devil did, but then He'll turn it into something great. Yes,
exactly. And what she's saying here, the devil's going to throw you in prison, but guess what? The end result of that is the crown of life is going to be even more precious to you.
Yeah, it sounds like refined by fire.
In
your
example.
Suffering,
Yep.
you're going to be
Good
refined
metaphor.
by fire, because they are going to go to prison.
Yep.
And this makes me think of Joseph.
Yep.
As well. He had to go to
prison to become what he needed to be.
Yes, so there the devil tried to take out Joseph, but Jesus used his...
Yep. And even
used him.
That's Joseph's own words. He says to his brothers, you meant this for evil, but God meant it for good. That's what he said to them. So yes, it's that refining, redeeming component of what God does, definitely.
Because what we do know is when people saw Christians suffering and saw Christians clinging on to their faith in God and refusing to give up to the point of death, it made people stop and think, hang on.
Totally.
Who is that God?
Who is that God that they would be burned at the stake for and thrown to the lions for?
And that interest in them eventually changed hearts, and we know that Rome became Christian in the end.
And it did, and it came on the back of that, as opposed to forceful at the tip of the sword, you'll become a Christian or we'll kill you. It didn't come. It actually came at the other end of the sword, where the Christians were the ones who were dying, and yet it changed Rome. Yeah.
And so what would you say to a church today who's in this suffering period?
Good question. I think we have to say what Jesus would say, which I don't see a lot of churches saying. A lot of churches are saying, fight back, fight back, fight back. Jesus is saying, if you stay faithful in the middle of it, you'll actually win the crown and you'll win more people.
Because that's what I got from it. The church wasn't fighting back.
No.
They were just holding their ground.
Yeah.
Being who they were.
Yeah, and oftentimes
following Jesus.
Often having to actually hide themselves away because it was in order to survive.
By holding their ground, I mean holding their faith.
Holding their faith, yes, that's right. Yep, sticking to their faith, sticking to their convictions, even to the point of death. Yep, definitely. It's different, but I think that's what the letters to the Revelation would say. Many of these churches had to persevere. That word comes up quite a bit.
They must have been so convicted, so convinced by Jesus that they were willing to do that.
Yep, totally.
I don't know if our church today would be. I don't know how many people would be able to persevere under such suffering.
I think there's probably a supernatural component that can come with the persecution, but it's certainly historic. History
One
has
would
shown,
hope there is a
one would hope, yeah.
supernatural
But
component.
history has shown that persecution and hardship tends to refine the church. And yes, lukewarm people will leave, etc. But I think there's probably something in it that maybe brings out the best in some of us. Maybe some of our selfishness gets knocked out when we face it. I'd like to think that would be the case. But I don't have a frame of reference personally because we don't have severe persecution. But maybe it's coming.
Great.
But it will refine us. It will shape us. And perhaps these words
Certainly
in
Christians
Revelation
in
will
other...
be,
Sorry, I cut you
yes,
off.
you're right.
There are many Christians out there who are being persecuted. And in fact, some documents, some arguments are being made that Christians are one of the most persecuted groups of people.
Yep, totally. When I say we,
Yes,
I mean we in the West. Yes.
You mean we in Anchor Point Church?
We in Anchor Point Church. We in middle class Western culture. But you're absolutely right, is that persecution is rife against Christians in many cultures.
And we're certainly persecuted in our workplaces or in our relationships if we confess to being Christians.
Yep, that's right.
Which is maybe why, do you know Jordan Peterson, why he never says that he's a Christian?
Because he doesn't want
believe in
the
Jesus?
persecution.
Who knows? I haven't looked into that very much.
Well, he's halfway there, but he's not fully prepared to say it. I don't know. Yeah. Well, remember John's gospel says that many of the Pharisees believed, but they kept it secret because they were afraid of what others might think.
Yes.
So you can come to
Yep.
a point of belief, but not fully come to that point of conviction that you're prepared to lay your life on it. Maybe that's the next step. I wonder how many Christians today have the belief, but if push comes to shove and they had to make a decision to state their belief or suffer significant persecution or hardship, how many would do it? Sobering thoughts.
It is sobering thoughts.
Sobering because would I do it? You know, Lord, would I do that? Hopefully I would.
Well, you certainly put yourself out there, on this podcast, and you're a
It's
preacher,
out there on the
you're
internet.
a pastor, you're...
Yeah, but in the absence of, if push comes to shove, I have to question that, I want to be able to go, if I was given the choice to stand before Caesar and deny Christ and live, or claim Christ and die, which one would I do? Because that's what these early Christians did.
See, I already know my answer. I know that I'm a Peter at heart.
Did you just deny Christ? Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
if he could not admit that he was a follower of Christ, why do I think I could?
Okay, so
in
here's
that
the
moment.
difference. But years later, Peter did do it.
Yes, but not when it mattered.
No,
Well, okay.
No, it did matter
It did.
later on.
Yes, it
And he
did.
did do
I
it.
was being...
He was being transformed. I think we all have that tendency to be Peter version 1, but I think the more we get to know Jesus, hopefully we become Peter version 2. Second time around, he says, hey, church history says, hey, not only was that, he says, I'm not worthy to be crucified like Jesus. Turn me upside down and crucify me upside down.
Yeah, he did do that. You know what it was? It was that moment when Peter denied him and Jesus looked him right in the eyes.
And then Jesus appeared to him afterwards
It was
and reinstated him.
Yes. But it was then.
Yeah.
He denied and he looked at him.
It hit him.
I see you, Pete.
Yeah, I see you, Pete. Yeah. He does see in our heart. But let's be like let's aim to be like the church at Smyrna, hey? Hold on. There is a crown of life, folks. Don't give up. Stay faithful, even if it's hard. Amen.
Amen.
That's enough for today?
Yes, that's enough. We're getting off track there, but,
Yeah.
but
Oh, no,
on
it's
track.
all valid.
Yeah,
It's all valid.
It is all valid.
Thanks, Jeannie. Thanks for being with us this week.
Thank you so much. I
All right.
very much enjoyed
I
my
did
time.
too. No worries. Talk to everyone next week. See you then.